So boys, I want to look at question 32B now, and this is going to, 31B, and this is going to be examine the policies and procedures that regulate the timing of returning to play for a professional soccer player that has suffered from a severe ankle injury. So it's the policies and procedures that regulate their timing of return to play for a soccer player, and you've got to talk about an ankle injury, and this is worth 12 marks. For me, boys, when I'm looking at this answer, Mr. Sullivan and I have discussed this in length, and we've sort of both have different opinions, and neither of us are right or wrong, I believe. I'm under the impression that return to play, because return to play is mentioned in the question, that you would need to cover all areas of the dot point. So I've gone through and I've marked it based on the boys that have covered all areas of the dot point. However, in Mr. Sullivan's concern, and which I agree with him as well, it asks about return to play policies and procedures also in the question. Right, so that's an important aspect of it too as well. So for 12 marks, if boys have just concentrated on this, then they need to have some of this information included in their area, and that's what in their response they need to have in bit of detail to get it 12 out of 12. And from what I've read, the boys that went through just completed this return to policies and procedures area haven't hit it to the same extent. I also believe, and whether I'm right or wrong, that if you get a 12 marker, I think you need to be looking at the whole dot point, because it'd be very rare. I think in our defence, I've put probably a poorly worded question. What I wanted boys to be answering, and what my question probably has aimed a lot of boys towards, I should say 4 or 5 boys towards, hasn't achieved what I wanted it. But I was looking for us to talk about return to play and all the areas required for 12 markers. So it's probably my oversight that I shouldn't have included these. Some different wording instead of policies and procedures. So that's where we're at. We'll go and look at the sample. So I've got a sample based on looking at all dot points. And again, this student who's gone through and covered it, he's highlighted the different areas. So you can see that, indicators of readiness to return to play, that looks like a little bit of a bolder colour. So it's from the highlight, it just doesn't come out when you scan it. So we need to go through and talk about all the areas of the syllabus under return to play, what they involve, and relate it to a severe ankle injury and what needs to be done. So indicators of readiness to return to play, pain-free injury site to show that the injury site is fully recovered and degree of mobility, which shows full range of movement. For example, professional soccer player, so wording from the question, will be able to demonstrate that his ankle, again the ankle injury, is fully functional and is pain-free prior to returning to play. This in turn is vital as it prevents re-injury, in turn highlighting the importance of indicators of readiness to return to play. Monitoring progress is essential. Again, it's a different colour which has been highlighted to establish that the athlete's injured area is recovering at a valid rate. This is tested by medical staff and coaches through pre-testing and post-testing, which is a part of the bracket. For example, the professional soccer player will undergo both tests which utilise muscle groups and movements, skills specific to soccer, such as dribbling, to show that the ankle is fully recovered. Then he goes a bit further down and he just reinforces in there. Psychological readiness refers to the athlete's mental mindset prior to returning to play, such that they must display optimal arousal and not have high levels of anxiety. For example, a soccer player will be monitored by the coach. The coach will monitor behaviours and will talk to the soccer player to understand his psychological readiness through the player's thoughts. This is imperative to implement the monitoring of psychological readiness. We go back a little bit down further. So return to play policies and procedures are regulations put in place to allow an athlete to make a complete recovery prior to returning to play. For example, the injured soccer player will have to sign documents to say that they are fully recovered and are not returning to play prematurely, and can be fined if re-injury due to premature return to play. So these policies and procedures obviously help with the recovery, minimising re-injury. Specific warm-up procedures refer to an athlete having to warm up and cool down to movements specific to the sport by placing emphasis on the injured area, for example, the ankle. For example, an injured soccer player will do calf races and sit and reach tests to place emphasis on injured ankle to prevent re-injury. The calf raises is better. The sit and reach is not so much, I wouldn't say a warm-up activity, it's more of a testing, but I'd definitely say the calf raises is better. Then he just reinforces the part about the specific warm-up procedures. Ethical considerations refer to pressure to participate, which can be influenced by the athlete, peers, friends or family. Also talks about the use of painkillers. Gives an example: the soccer player may wish to return to play prematurely as he's bored and is pressured by family to earn, and therefore uses painkillers to prematurely return to play, risking re-injury. All right, so he's gone through and explained how it can be related to specific parts of the soccer player. So that's what I was after, boys, in terms of that 12 marker. For me, my way of looking at that question, and Mr. Sullivan has a different take on it, which is fair enough, is that I was under the impression that all dot points were all areas of the syllabus were required in that one. You need to make sure that you underline and set things out well. You need to give specific examples that related to the ankle, not just general about injury, but you need to be mentioning the word ankle. And you must have an example as well for every area. And you can see, by the way, this student had set it out when I went through it, that that's what he did quite well. Again, the underlining was well done, and I'm really, as I said on the previous one, liking the fact that boys are starting to do it a lot better. So, well done.